Good morning. It's very nice to be with you again in the first online event in this year of 2026. So, this is a promising year. We're going to have event with a great deal of content to meet the needs of the Latin American market of advanced materials. So, in the first half of the year, we're going to have many online events providing precise, tailored content. And in August, from the 25th to the 27th, we're going to have the edition of FEIPLAR and FEIPUR, International Trade Show and Conference on Advanced Materials, including the composites, the polyurethanes, the engineering plastics, the thermoplastic compounds, the nanomaterials, including graphene and elastomers, happening in São Paulo in the São Paulo Expo Center. To begin with today's event, that is the Africa webinar, we have André Antunes, the CEO of Allan Harper. The Africa webinar is an online event. It's our third edition. Always we hold it on the FEIPLAR year. And the purpose is to invite professionals from the African countries to come and visit our event. So this seminar that we are holding here today has the purpose, has the objective of demonstrating and showcasing the solutions that are more aligned with the African market. So this talk, the talk by André Antunes with Allan Harper, it's a very well positioned talk. André is highly experienced. He's worked with African companies. Anyhow, he prepared a very specific content to meet the needs of this Africa webinar. Hello, André. Yeah, mid-volume manufacturing in Latin America as a possibility for African countries. So André is going to be discussing Allan Harper's technology. He's going to talk about many novelties. Well, if there is a company that does produce innovations, is Allan Harper. So André is an executive, but he's also a technical professional. He really sets the example here in our market. So André, once again, thank you for participating. It's a pleasure to have, the Allan Harper and Antunes family participating in our event here. Thank you very much. Feel free. You may introduce yourself and introduce your company now. Well, thank you. I would like to thank you to be here in this morning session to see our content. Simone always, bringing novelties and innovations to us. I am André from Allan Harper. You might know us with the silicone counter mode, and we're going to show how this can be used as an example for other countries. But first, I would like to thank Simone for the opportunity. It's a great deal of responsibility. The first online event of the year, and I'm opening the event, so I'll try and make a very nice presentation so that we set a very high bar. And I'm sure that the other speakers will contribute with great content as well. Thank you once again, Simone. So we hope to see you at FEIPLAR this year. We were born in a FEIPLAR trade show. We'll always be there as an exhibitor, and we hope to see you there this year. Okay. Thank you, André. Thank you so much. Okay, here we are from Allan Harper Composite in Brazil. This is our headquarters. We manufacture the membranes and 3D printing modes, prototypes as well. And I'm going to tell you how we have been applying technology to do mid-sized volume production in Latin America. This can be showcased to African, to Latin American countries, in countries in which we need to increase efficiency to be more competitive. Let me tell you about Allan Harper. He was born with Allan Harper, Mr. Allan Harper. Well, he has a whole history in the composite industry starting from the 60s. So his father was from the British Air Force, so he worked with composite pieces in airplanes. So he worked his whole life developing production methods and technologies. And then he sold his company, and then in 2010 he founded Allan Harper Composites, aiming at making manufacturing more efficient with less waste. Okay, and then in 2014, I had been a client for Allan Harper for 2 years, and I became a distributor in Latin America. We founded Allan Harper here in Brazil, and then we launched the moldable mat for the lamination process in 2025 last year. We commissioned our 3D printing. I'm just looking at it, the large scale printer, 2.5 cubic meters in volume, that printed this mold that you can see here. This was a project that they sent on a Thursday, and then on Saturday we were producing the pieces. We have the vase, we have models, and so many other things. And then in 2020, think we were fortunate to complete the acquisition of Allan Harper Composites global operations. So with his son, with Harper's son and myself, we're going to set, the pace of the company. So we hope to bring good news for the market and to help the companies to be more efficient and more competitive. About the presentation, I would like to show to you some cases. Well, the first that uses the reusable counter molds made of silicone. They are flexible and they are self-releasing. So this enables us to have negative angles, a greater compression of the fibers, because since it is flexible, it's different from a fixed cavity mold as the RTM light. So we'll compress the fiber layers, and this will enable us to have a better relationship between fibers and resins. And then for polyester and ester vinyl parts, which is a great share of our market, we can reach up to 1,000 uses, 1,200 uses, depending on your throughput per day, without actually applying a releasing agent on the membrane. That's a great advantage for the part molding companies for the ester systems, polyester, ester vinyl, and epoxy is a bit more complicated, but we can also, work with it. So the idea is to bring to you some case studies, some of the parts that we have produced. The photos are the examples. In the upper part, you see this truck hood made in Australia. It's approved for our technology, and we see other parts for heavy duty transportation in Brazil, and Allan Harper's technology has been approved. Well, this Mac hood can only be done with our system. They have 8 molds and they produce 60 or 80 per week. That's the number of parts they produce per week. It's a mid-sized volume production for large parts, reducing complexities. And below we see, motor home parts following the same idea, the same method. So that's a case that I like to show. It's our client that manufactures, tractors, and they produce fiber parts for the tractors. Agrale, they're located in the south of Brazil, and the left we show their prior production, how they produced before. So they needed 8 different molds and counter molds to be able to produce the parts, and then they had to deburr and splice them to manufacture a single hood. Today they have one mold, one silicone counter mold, the deburring and assembly final items. In the next slide, you will see that they reduced their area, the area they needed in the plant. They reduced the direct costs of the fiber, the production time by 22%. They reduced. Resin consumption was reduced by 49%. So significant reductions, because there's the resin channels that you have to deburr in addition to the resin volume. which is much higher, was much higher. So they need, less tools to release a piece with a negative angle. Now we can do it. And investments taken into account silicone compared with the other molds and counter molds, the investments were reduced by 42%. Very well. Here we have other cases for the ship sector and the roadway sector. Okay, I think there's a mic that is open, but that's okay. I'll carry on. Well, one for the vessel production, maritime transportation application. So that's a speedboat that you see there, and a seat for a train car. They're made with our silicone, quite complex molds with complicated geometries. The seat is divided in four different parts, and we do have technology to use the silicone counter mold instead of doing 20 parts and gluing them. So please talk to us. We have technology for that. Something else that is quite interesting, swimming pool plant, they migrated to silicone mold. It was a spray up in the past. So it was unhealthy, full of fibers and styrene. Now they have a clean and organized environment. That's another great advantage that we have in using the silicone counter mode. Now we have a case study they made as well, as you can see here. Oh, I think the page has been switched. Can you click to the next? Okay. Well, that's another case with Agrali. Okay, no worries. The slides are not in the right order, but we're going to make the presentation available. You have access to the presentation. So the system is economically viable, reducing the resin consumption by 40% in some cases, enabling parts with a higher fiber content, higher than resin. So the lamination is more resistant, and we produce more parts with the same consumption of raw materials. The disposable materials, they are not wasted, as in the case of infusion. You waste the peel ply, the vacuum plastic, the tacky tape. All of this can be made on the silicone counter mode so that we do not waste such materials. The quality of the product is scalable because as you define the resin amount, the fiber amount, the gel time, and then you repeat that, all of the parts are exactly the same. So let's say one day your soccer team won, the guy's happy, so the part is heavier. The other day the guy's angry at the family, and then the piece is like 2 kilos lighter. Anyhow, you have consistent production for your parts and a greater throughput per operator because if they're not there just laminating or doing other manual processes. This is reduced because of the infusion time. So in the silicone mold and around the silicone counter mold, we created all of the accessories. You do not depend on consumables. So for the membrane, we have anchoring points, canals to distribute the resin, silicone for repair, and all of that will replace the use of consumables such as peel ply, the plastic bag, the tack tape, the flow mesh. We can replace all of those. So you can see the difference. Infusion, there is a high consumption of labor and consumables, and it's costful. So you pay and then you throw it away. With the silicone counter mode, I mean, you can reuse the counter mode several times. And here, as you can see, we are comparing with a spray up process. So you can see both photos. The piece on the right was made with the silicone counter mold and on the left with spray up. It seems to be bigger, but it's exactly the same parts. So you see this burr, this waste. That's the money that you spent to process a raw material and then you pay to dispose of it. So we can avoid waste. This specific counter mold, we're even sad because we produced more than 2,500 pieces and it's still working. The client made a new one, but they like using the other one because they've been trained. Well, yeah, the durability of the silicone is very high, especially for low complexity and thin parts with a 4 or 5 cycles per day. So the durability is
O
very
que que a
high,
gente
as you can
precisa para
see.
fazer um contramolde de silicone?
So
Um
what do we
flange
need to
técnico,
do a
tá?
silicone
Então,
counter
basicamente,
mold?
a
We need a
forma, a geometria do
technical
meu produto, como
flange.
vocês veem aqui, não
So the
importa tanto. Eu
geometry
tenho
of
desde
my
uma
product
peça
is not
de
so
ônibus,
important.
um
We
capô, uma
may have
tampa
a
de
bus
motor,
part,
tenho
the
uma
hood,
pequena
the cover
pia,
of an
tenho um baú
engine,
do
the
correio que tem um
guard.
ângulo negativo
We
aqui na parte
have this
superior, vocês podem
box that
ver.
has a negative angle in the upper
Então,
part, as you can see
eita,
here.
nós, agora eu vou destruir o estúdio.
Yeah, I should not be destroying the
Ficou.
display, should I? Anyhow,
Então, o que que a gente precisa
that's
para
good.
conseguir
Okay,
trabalhar é de um
so in order
flange
to work with the
liso,
system, we
o
need
mais liso
a
possível,
smooth
plano ou o
flange,
mais
as
plano
smooth as
possível, e
possible,
se houver
that is
alguma
flat or as
transição de
flat as
altura, que seja
possible.
suave.
And if there is
Como
any
vocês podem
height
ver na
transition, it
foto,
should be
o antes e o
smooth.
depois. Na
Okay, as you
linha
can see on the
escura, no
photo, we have
molde, na
before
foto
and after.
superior,
In the
você vê um
dark
ângulo. O
line in the
molde
mold,
tinha
in
um
the upper
ângulo
picture, we see
que era
before.
bastante
So the
agudo
mold
e isso
has had
dificulta
this,
a vedação do
sharp
contramolde de silicone.
angle.
Então, as recomendações
So it was
um flange
difficult
plano,
for the
liso,
silicone counter
com
mold. So a
mudanças de
flange that is
níveis o mais
smooth
suave
and as flat
possível
as
e de no
possible,
mínimo cento e
height,
trinta milímetros,
shifts
idealmente
as
150
smooth
milímetros.
as
Tendo
possible,
isso, seu
and
molde
at least
provavelmente já vai
130 to
estar apto para
150
fazer um
millimeters.
contramolde de
So
silicone.
if you have
Obviamente
this, a
que é
technical
importante
flange,
que
you
o
can
molde
use a
não tenha
silicone
furos e que
counter mold.
tudo
Well, it's
tenha sido
important not to
pensado
have
para um sistema
holes. I mean,
hermético
if
a vácuo.
there is holes, you have to be
Então aqui
thinking
você
about
pode ver
tightness,
antes e
okay, for a
depois o
vacuum
molde tinha
system,
um
of
ângulo
course. We
bastante
see
agudo.
before and after, there was this sharp angle
E
in the
aqui agora
mold
uma
in the
outra coisa que a gente
past.
gostaria de
But
falar é
here
que
we have something
como
else
a
that we
gente está
would
sempre
like to
fazendo contramolde de
discuss.
silicone e
We're
nossos clientes
always
sempre têm
doing the
demanda para
silicone
moldes,
counter
sempre
modes,
pediram
and
muito
there's always
molde
a
para a
demand
gente.
for molds from our clients.
Eu sempre
They've
me
always
interessei no
requested
assunto,
so
só
many
que
types of
tudo que eu
molds. So I
pesquisava
became
era
interested in
gente
this topic and
experiente,
I made
30 anos na
research.
indústria,
But it was all about
madeira
experienced people
colada,
that had like a
usinagem,
30-year
laminação
experience.
manual e
They
um
would
monte de
use,
problema depois
milling,
por causa desse
manual
processo.
lamination, and then a
Então eu
lot of
falava,
issues
se for
because
para
of the
fazer assim, eu
gluing
não
and
quero
because of
fazer
this
molde
entire
nem
process.
modelo,
So
não me
I didn't
interessa
want
entrar
to
nesse mercado.
produce,
Porém, há
a
alguns
template
anos
or
nós
molds. I
viemos
was not
estudando
interested.
uma
But
tecnologia
then, for a
que
few years, we
é
had been studying this
LFAM, que é Large
technology,
Format Additive Manufacturing, ou
LFAM,
seja, manufatura
large
aditiva em
format,
grande escala,
additive
em grande formato.
manufacturing,
E
okay?
com isso, nós investimos em uma
LFAM.
tecnologia
And with that, we
holandesa de
invested in
impressão
this Dutch
3D com
technology for
pellets
printing,
de
for
plástico
3D printing
reforçados
that
com fibra
uses,
de
plastic
vidrocarbono que
pellets
podem ser
reinforced
usados
with
como
carbon
modelo ou
or
molde.
fiberglass,
No
and they can
caso,
be used
esse
as
projeto que você
template
está
or
vendo
as
aqui,
molds. So the
eu vou
project
destruir
that you
isso tudo.
see
O
there,
cliente
yeah, I'm not
pediu
destroying anything.
para
Anyhow,
a gente se
the
existia a
client
possibilidade de conseguir um molde em
asked
menos de
us.
uma semana,
They would
mandou o
like to
CAD
produce a
3D
mold
para
in less
nós
than a week. They sent the
numa
CAD 3D
mandou o CAD 3D
information.
para nós
So
numa
they
quinta-feira
sent
de manhã.
the CAD
Na
3D
sexta
on a
tarde,
Thursday
nós
morning.
entregamos para
On Friday
ele o
afternoon,
molde
we
impresso.
sent them back
E
the
no
printed
sábado ele
mold.
tinha esse molde com
And
essa
then on
superfície. O que que
Saturday,
ele
they
fez?
had this
A
mold with
peça
this
impressa,
surface here.
se
So the
vocês
printed
repararem,
part,
ela não tem
please
um
note here.
acabado perfeito,
So the
certo?
finish is not
Então,
perfect yet, as you can see.
o recomendado a se fazer
So
é
the
você
recommendation in
usinar
this
essa
case
peça. Então, você
was
imprime
milling
com sobrematerial,
this part.
usina,
So you
tira esse excesso
print
de
with
material
excessive
e depois,
material,
com
you
um
mill,
excesso a
you
mais,
remove
vai
the
retirar,
excessive
para depois
material,
a gente aplicar gel coat e
and
chegar nas
then we
dimensões
apply gel
necessárias.
coat
Nesse caso, eles
to
não
reach
tinham
the
uma
required
necessidade dimensional,
dimensions.
expressão
Well, in this
dimensional tão
case,
alta. Então, eles
well,
só
their
pegaram a
dimension
peça impressa,
requirements were
aplicaram
not
massa
that
poliéster,
strict. They
gel
took
coat
the
e em
printed
3
part,
dias
they
eles estavam
applied
produzindo.
polyester
Esse
paste and
molde
gel
pesou
coat, and in 10
120
days they were
quilos,
producing
foi impresso em acho
120
que
kilos. That's
18
the
horas.
weight of this mold.
Então,
It was
essa
printed in
tecnologia me
18
encantou e
hours.
foi isso que
So
a
this
gente trouxe
technology
para o Brasil e a gente
is
quer reproduzir
fantastic, and
também.
that's why
Se
we
Deus
decided to
quiser,
bring to Brazil,
logo a
and we
nível
want to
mundial.
offer
Então, o
it
que que
quite
você pode
shortly at the
imprimir? Eu
global
posso
level
imprimir
as well.
molde, eu
So
posso
we may
imprimir
print
modelo, eu
the
posso
molds,
imprimir
we may
gabarito,
print
eu
the
posso imprimir
templates,
dispositivo de colagem,
the
dispositivo de
models,
aferição.
the
Tudo
gluing
isso pode ser
devices,
feito
the
muito
gauging
mais rápido do
devices,
que
the
era feito
measurement
antes.
devices. All of this can be done much
Então,
faster today.
interação, teste,
So we
protótipo,
do
piloto e, em alguns
iteration
casos, até um
testing,
molde
prototype,
produtivo,
and
como foi o
piloting,
caso
and sometimes
desse
even the
projeto
production
aqui.
mold, as was the case of this project
Aqui eu
that
vou
I
mostrar um
mentioned
videozinho para
here.
vocês.
So
Essa
let
foi
me
a
show to you a
impressão
short
do
video.
molde que
That's
produziu
the
essa
printing
peça aqui,
process of the
tá?
mold that produced this part here.
Ele
Look at
foi
this.
impresso
So,
pelo nosso parceiro na
this
Holanda.
was
Vou
printed by
mostrar que
our
eu tenho uma
partner
peça feita
in
com ele em
the
carbono
Netherlands.
também.
So this is a carbon-based part that was
Então,
produced
nós
with the very
imprimimos
same
esse
mold.
molde, usinamos,
So we printed
fizemos
this
um
mold,
tratamento
we
de
milled,
gel coat
we
nele
made
e
gel coat
depois
treatment on it,
botamos para a produção.
and
Então, eu vou
then
reproduzir o vídeo
it
aqui para
went
vocês
into
terem uma ideia
production.
de
So
como
let me
funciona a
play the video
tecnologia
to you
nele.
so that you learn
Então,
how
aqui que
the
vocês podem ver,
technology
a
works.
gente
So as you
pega o
can see
CAD,
here,
você manda para a gente um
we
3D
take
da
the
peça ou do molde.
CAD,
Nós
the CAD
trabalhamos isso
drawing,
para
the
funcionar
3D
para
CAD
manufatura
drawing,
aditiva.
and
Então,
then
uma vez
we
que ele
want this
está
to be
adequado para
operational
impressão,
for
a gente
additive
imprime esse
manufacturing. When
molde,
it's
modelo,
appropriate for
gabarito,
printing,
dispositivo, o
we
que for.
print the mold, we do the
Terminada essa
template
impressão,
of
ele
the
vai para um processo
model
de
of the
usinagem.
device.
Então, aí a
After
gente faz a
finishing the
usinagem
printing,
e
it
depois um
goes to
processo de
milling.
acabamento.
We do the milling
Dependendo da
process and then the
necessidade,
finishing
ele
process.
pode receber um
Depending on the
coating ou
client's
ele pode
need,
ser
we
com
may apply
polímero
a coating
natural.
or we
Vai
may
depender da
use natural
aplicação que essa
polymer.
impressão vai ser.
It will
Mas
depend
essa
on the final
tecnologia me fez
application.
sentido e nós temos
But
ela
this
implementada
technology
agora
really
no
makes sense.
Brasil
So
e
we do
estamos
have
buscando
this
parceiros
available
para
in Brazil
desenvolver
now. And now
aplicações.
we are
Então, se
seeking
você tem,
partners to further
tem algum
develop applications.
projeto em
So
mente,
if
algo
you
que
have
precise
any
com
project
pressa
in
ou nem
mind,
tanto e quer
anything
descobrir
that
mais sobre essa
requires
tecnologia,
this, if
entre
you
em
want to
contato
learn
com a
more about
gente.
this technology, get in
O
touch with
e-mail é
us. Our email is
andre@allanharpercomposite.com.br. Está no
André at
começo e no fim da apresentação. Tenho certeza que a Simone também vai disponibilizar.
Compositor.com.br.
E aí a
Simone
outra
will make it
pergunta que vem é
available.
quais
It is at the
polímeros a
end
gente
of
pode
the
usar? Basicamente, a
presentation. Well, what
impressora,
are the
a nossa
polymers that
extrusora,
we can
ela
use?
trabalha até
Well, with the extruder and the
410 ou
printing
420 graus, se
machine,
eu não estou
we
enganado.
work up
Então,
to
isso permite que a gente possa imprimir
420 degrees.
PETG,
That
ABS,
enables us
policarbonato,
to print
PIC, PP,
PETG,
nylon,
ABS, polycarbonate,
poliamida. São
PEEK,
inúmeros
nylon,
termoplásticos
polyamide,
reforçados com fibra
many
de vidro carbono,
thermoplastics that
podem
can
ser
be reinforced
impressos.
with carbon or fiberglass. We can
Como a
do the
gente escolhe
printing of
cada um
those.
deles vai depender da
Okay, and
aplicação,
how
do
do we
TG,
choose
se vai
them?
estar
That will
exposto ao
depend on the
sol ou
application,
não, se é
on
um
the
processo a
TG, if
quente,
there'll
a
be
frio,
exposure to the
se
sun
ele
or
tem
not,
problema
if
com a
it's a
absorção
hot
de
or a
água ou não.
cold
Então,
process,
cada
if there should
polímero
be an issue
vai
with
servir
water
para uma
absorption
aplicação
or not.
específica e
So
vai ter
each
suas facilidades
polymer
e
will
suas
be compatible
complexidades
with
no
its
processo também.
application, and there'll be,
Hoje nós
complexities that
vendemos
will be dealt with. Today,
PETG da Allan Harper, nós desenvolvemos nosso próprio
we sell
PETG, que é o
the
material
PETG
usado nas
from
impressões
Allan
que vocês estão
Harper.
vendo aqui no
That's the
vídeo.
material that is used in the
E
printings
estamos
that you
distribuindo
saw
esse
here
material para
in the
outras
video.
empresas que
So
têm
we are now distributing
tecnologia
this material
FGF, que
to
é
other
Fused
companies that
Granulated
use the
Fabrication,
FGF,
fabricação
the fused
por vidros.
granulated fabrication.
E
Okay,
aí a ideia
so we are
é unir
distributing these for
o
companies that
processamento
have,
de silicone com uma
FGF.
impressão 3D. Então
So
a
we want
gente
to put
pega a
together
agilidade
silicone molding with the
numa impressão
3D
3D para um
printing.
molde
So we have
com
the fast
as
action of
vantagens que
the
nós já
3D
falamos do
printing
contramolde de
and the
silicone,
mold
ser rápido,
with the
prático,
advantages of
repetitivo.
the counter mode. It's
Com
fast,
isso,
it's
a
quick, it's a
gente
repetitive
consegue
process,
juntar o melhor dos dois
reproducible,
mundos em
and with
menos de uma
that,
semana para
we
entregar
bring
uma
together
ferramenta produtiva.
both of the best worlds. And in less
Isso
than a week,
permite que
we can
você
develop,
trabalhe com
a tool that
materiais
is highly
reciclados e
productive for you.
recicláveis no seu
You can
molde.
use
Então,
with
depois de usar
recyclable
esse
or
molde, pode
recycled material
reciclá-lo.
in your mold.
Se você
So
tem que
depending on the
guardar
mold,
molde por
you
10
can use
anos ou ter uma
recycled
garantia e
material.
ocupa muito
If you
espaço, você
have
pode
to,
guardar o
offer
arquivo,
a
aquele molde
10-year
imprimir,
warranty,
caso seja
I mean, you may
necessário ao
save
longo
the
da vida.
file if that's
Então, a
needed,
ideia nossa é entregar uma solução
So the
inteligente
idea is to
e
offer
que
this smart
funcione
solution
para
that
todos.
really works for everyone. It's a win-win.
E mais ou menos era isso que eu tinha para falar. Essa é a
So
família
that's what I
Harper,
had
estamos
for
precisando
you.
atualizar essa foto aí, tem mais
That's the
gente,
Harper
tem
family. We need
Siqueira,
to
tem
update the
Chicão,
picture. There's more people.
Caião
We have
tá aí, Liam tá
Siqueira,
aí, tem o Enio
Chicão,
da Inglaterra, a
Caião, Liam
Lisa,
is there.
o Léo
We
tá
have
aí, quem mais? A Cris não
Liam
tá
from
aí, a
England. We
Gabi
have
tá,
Lisa.
temos
Chris
os
is
nossos
not
dois
there.
estagiários, então a
Gabi is
equipe está
there. We have
crescendo.
the two
Isso é graças a
interns,
vocês que
and the
acreditam, que
team is
confiam no
growing.
trabalho da Alan
Thanks to
Harper,
you
graças a
that really
Simone,
trust
que sempre
Alan
faz tanto pela
Harper's
nossa
work.
indústria
Thanks to
e
Simone
por
that does
nós
so
também,
much
por
for
ter
our
mantido essas
industry.
plataformas onde a gente possa conversar
So
diretamente com
this is a
vocês.
very nice
Espero que eu possa
platform. We are now
ter,
talking
pelo
directly
menos,
to you, and
colocado um
I hope
padrão médio aí para as
I have
apresentações, que não
enlightened
tenha
you.
sido tão entediante, que eu possa
I
ter
have,
mostrado para vocês
shared information.
de
I
trabalhar
hope
com a
you're not
tecnologia da
bored,
Alan
and
Harper, com as
I hope you
tecnologias da Alan
learned,
Harper,
the
e estamos
advantages
dispostos a
of
conversar,
working with
ajudar. Se tiver
Alan
questões,
Harper's
Simone, se puder
technologies. We are
responder,
here to
temos um
serve
canal
you.
no
If there are
YouTube que
any
vocês podem
questions,
seguir
we may
também,
answer your
Alan Harper
questions. We have a
Composites
YouTube
Brasil,
channel
estamos no
that you can
Instagram, Alan Harper
subscribe to,
Composites,
Alan Harper
Facebook,
Composites. We are on on Instagram and Facebook and all of the social media. Yes, we do have some questions. One of them is the following: how can we get in touch with Alan Harper?
Alan Harper para entender
So, how can we get in touch with you to really understand whether the design
Bom, e-mail
is
sendo
suitable?
André ou
Well, you can
Leonardo,
get
tudo
in
uma
touch
palavra,
by email, Andre or
harpercompositores.com.br.
Leonardo at
A gente sempre responde em Instagram,
allanharpercomposites.com.br. We
Facebook,
always
na
reply
nossa
if you talk to
página
us on Instagram, on
allanharpercomposites.com.br tem
Facebook.
bastante informação. Entre em contato, a
allanharpercomposites.com.br is the
gente tem
website. There's
foto,
much
tem
information
3D, tem
there. Get
desenho,
in touch
a
with
gente
us, send
avalia
a
aquilo e dá
photo,
uma
a
resposta
3D
com base na
design.
nossa
We can make an
experiência.
assessment and then we reply to you based on our experience. Thank you so much, André, for your participation. Well, I don't know whether we're going to see each other before the trade show, but we'll definitely
Na
have the
FEIPLAR a
Alan
gente tá
Harper
lá e se você não
talk
for, você vai
at
perder, hein?
FEIPLAR,
Vai ter
FEIPU.
novidade
Yeah,
e
please
eu
be
não vou
there.
contar
Don't
agora.
miss
Então,
out.
espero vocês
There'll be
lá. Um
many
abraço,
new
Simone. Muito
things,
obrigado
and I'm
mais
not
uma
telling you,
vez.
so hope to
E
see you
precisando, tamo
there.
junto.
Thank you
Todo
so
mundo entra em
much,
contato, segue a
Simone.
gente nas redes.
We are on this
Valeu.
together. Follow us on the social media. Thank you very much. Thank you, Andre.